Welcome to Forum 360. I'm Sally Henning. For you today, we have two attorneys and an MBA. What do you get with that? You get SCORE. Welcome to Forum 360 of the year. We have Dan O'Connell, the chair of the AkronSCORE service group, and we also have from Canton, Ed Meserly, who's our chairman down in Canton, where I live. Welcome to Forum 360.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. What is SCORE and what does it do?
Well, we're a nonprofit organization that is affiliated with the Small Business Administration. We consist of...
and that's a federal agency, correct?
Yes. There are about 300 chapters around the country, and each chapter consists of volunteers who typically have business backgrounds, and primarily what we do is provide free, confidential counseling to entrepreneurs, and we also conduct a variety of workshops during the year on various business topics. Like I said, there are about 300 chapters throughout the country. In your viewing audience, there's also a chapter in Cleveland, Youngstown, Mansfield, and then our two chapters in Akron and in Canton.
Well, Dan, what's the mission of SCORE?
Well, the mission of SCORE is to help small businesses, in particular entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting a business, or if they're already in business, to help them improve their business. And we do it through mostly workshops and individual counseling. And
you also assist nonprofits, is that correct?
We do, and that's a relatively new thing. We have a couple of gentlemen who run nonprofit workshops, and if we get a request for nonprofit counseling, they almost always will step up and do what it takes, and they'll even do multiple counseling or visit the sites of if that would help. And it's amazing what is done by these SCORE counselors for free. They really step up.
Well, let's talk about the SCORE counselors. Let's talk about the staff, the people who provide the services to nonprofits and the services to small businesses. Who are the people that volunteer? Can you describe them?
Well, like I said, they have a variety of business backgrounds. In the Canton chapter, we have about 34 volunteers, and you could go through that list and find people with experience in almost any area of business you could think of. Not all of them are retired, despite what the name says. We're finding more and more of our volunteers are not retired. They're continuing to work, but they like to participate in the SCORE. And they're generally people that enjoy helping other people fulfill their dreams by starting and running their own business or a nonprofit.
So you don't have, so you don't have to retire to in order to volunteer.
In fact, that's the new focus. Get people who are working, get people who are younger, get women and minorities more involved than they already are, and we make a special effort on that. And just to differentiate from Canton, I just thought I'd say a little bit about the AkronSCORE chapter. We have 70 counselors, virtually every aspect of business, including nonprofit and international, which is unusual. They'll give advice on how to start an international business or improve it. And we've been doing it for 50 years. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary. So just to add to what Ed said, we do a lot for free, and I think it really helps the four-county area that we serve.
Well, I'm very interested in finding out about the 50th anniversary celebration, but before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about your backgrounds. And if I could start with you, Dan, I know that you're also the chairman of the Akron Rotary Foundation.
Yes.
An amazing group, does a lot of work with providing camping for underprivileged folks. And can you talk a little bit about your background? I know you're also with Merrill Lynch.
Sure. Just working backwards, like you say, the Akron Rotary Foundation is one of the fundraising arms for the Akron Rotary Camp under the auspices of the Akron Rotary Club. And we just did a $3.5 million expansion of our camp on Rex Lake up in Akron. So we're very proud of that. Going back 31 years at Merrill Lynch as a vice president financial advisor. So I just handled people's money. But
and before
it was
that,
a lot of fun.
Before that, you were in the hoops industry.
I was, yeah. Let's go back to my Firestone days. I actually ran a Firestone store as part of my MBA trade sales training program. way back in 1970. And I got out of Columbia University at that time. And I ran a store in Milford, Connecticut, which is kind of my hometown area. And I really learned how to do a lot of interesting things, like do brake jobs, change tires, handle advertising, handle tire changers, go out for a beer with the guys afterwards, and in particular handle customers.
Well, speaking of fellowship, my guess is that the Akron chapter has a number of volunteers who are from the rubber industry, and that part of the fun of being there is the fellowship with the people from the rubber industry.
It is. Most of them are Goodyear, which, again, they were the bad guys when I was with Firestone.
The competitors.
But we have some great volunteers from there. Probably some of our more valuable people are actually the people who did turnaround consulting. They did turnaround of small business. They are very much in demand. And just to throw out a name to you, Russ Vernon, who ran West Point Market, was one of our volunteers and is emeritus right now. But he will still step up, and if somebody wants to do something concerning the food industry, he's available too.
Of course, in my objective analytical approach, it's the folks from Goodrich that obviously are the best.
Yes.
But that's just subjective.
And we have people from there too, and you know.
We were just talking about Tom Duke and some other folks
yes.
that are involved with SCORE.
Tom actually put together a lot of our publications. He prepares people who are doing speaking engagements. And he was, I believe, the head of public relations for B.F. Goodrich, as well as working for a number of advertising agencies. So he's just one example of the kind of quality we have.
There are a lot of resources in this community, and SCORE takes advantage of them. The same thing is true in Canton, isn't it, Ed?
Absolutely, and incidentally, in Canton, we have 3 or 4 volunteers who are from Goodyear. So we have some Goodyear folks, too. A lot of people from Timken and some of the companies in Canton, and a lot of the folks that we have are small business owners themselves or had operated a small business. So as I said, it's quite a variety.
And your background is in the law.
Yeah, after I graduated from law school, which seems like an eternity ago, I practiced law in Canton for a while. Then I joined a bank trust department and was there for about 21 years.
And you were with Mercer, the big human resources
When I left the
consultants.
bank, I went to Mercer Human Resource Consulting in Cleveland, and I retired from there.
Yeah, you know, and you've been chairman of the Canton SCORE chapter. In addition to that, you're also the adjunct faculty of Walsh University.
Yes. I taught business ethics there. And you would not be the first person to point out the irony of an attorney teaching business ethics if you'd want to joke about that.
No, I wouldn't.
I have had comments about it.
I would not. I specifically cannot joke about it. My husband, may he rest in peace, taught business ethics at Walsh through the IDEAL program.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not about to knock that at all. In fact,
right.
I think it's absolutely the primary qualification, I think. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about...
I was just going to mention one other thing.
Oh, sure.
Talking about oxymoron, I was in Army intelligence when I was between undergraduate school and graduate school. So we used to kid about that, like, is there a such thing? Anyway, that kind of goes along with it.
Do you think the lessons from the service helped you with what you're doing with SCORE?
Absolutely. It teaches you how to take responsibility at a very young age, 21, 22, 23. And it gives you, they call it leadership training, but it's really just taking responsibility. It doesn't make you a better speaker or whatever, but it really does. And I find that you don't have to be an officer. Even the veterans we talk to now, which is a good part of our business, probably 10, 15% of the people who come to see us are veterans. We find them just more ambitious and a little more motivated. And I think that discipline and really helps being in the military.
It allows you the opportunity to take advantage of a wide variety of experiences in what you're trying to accomplish, doesn't it? Sure.
Yeah.
So a moment ago, we just started to talk about the 50th anniversary celebration, and it may be a little early in the interview to talk about it when we haven't talked about so many stories and all the things that you're doing, but let's talk about that. Tell me about the 50th anniversary celebration.
And again, I think Canton came from Akron, and Akron came from Cleveland, so it all started 50 years ago actually in Cleveland, but we claim
now when you say Canton came from Akron, you're talking about chapters, not people.
Yeah, I'm sorry, chapters.
Not the city. Okay,
Yeah.
just to clarify.
Yeah,
not that anyone was confused.
Subsidiary, they were probably branches at one time, and then they got big enough to be standalone chapters. We were fortunate enough at our 50th anniversary, which was just really a little over a month ago, September 24th, we brought in the head of National SCORE, Ken Yancey, for 2 days. He spent time with us and was the keynote speaker at a luncheon.
And his office is in Virginia, just outside of Washington,
Exactly,
D.C.,
Herndon,
correct?
Virginia.
Yeah.
Again, it's part of the Small Business Administration. That's where they get their funding. But anyway, he spoke to the group. It had politicians, foundation people, SCORE counselors, clients that we thought would be interested in being there. And he spoke about how SCORE began, basically what SCORE does for the country in relating to entrepreneurship and small business. And we were very proud of that. We also were able, just prior to that, we were able to release what I think was an incredible insert that featured all we do at SCORE, and it included me shaking hands with one of my clients on the cover, and he claims that I helped him quite a bit. So we featured him. He went to 120,000 households. And again, the purpose of this was so that we could give away our free services, the publicity that the exposure of our name to the four-county area is invaluable in getting people to know about us. I think that's our big problem. We need to get people to know what we do and how we do it, and that it's free and confidential.
Let's talk about results. We've talked about what your services are. What is the impact on small businesses and on nonprofits as a result of what it is that you do? But before you answer this question, let me remind our audience that this is Forum 360. I'm Sally Henning. Our special guests today are from the Service Corps of Retired Executives. We have the chairman, both from Akron and Canton. We have Dan O'Connell, the chair of the Akron chapter of SCORE, and we have Ed Meserly, who is the chairman of the Canton chapter of SCORE. Okay, gentlemen, just before the halftime reintroduction, I was just talking to you about the so what's, I call it. Tell me about some of the things that you accomplish with SCORE. What do you do? What is being done for people? What are they able to accomplish as a result of your services? And Ed.
This is a result of one of the things we do. We have a client who had spent some time in Bangladesh on a mission trip. And he learned that women in these villages, in order to get a job, had to leave the village and go to a city and leave the family behind. So there's a group in Bangladesh that pays these women to make
like dolls and other
hats,
things.
And
hats.
This is kind of a rattle, but it's not very loud. And he imports them.
Would you shake the rattle? All right.
You can't hear it too well.
I can.
He imports them. We had a counselor who had experience in imports and helped him get started. And they're to the point where they were able to quit their day job, so to speak, and are making a living doing this. And
that's in part because of the services that he received from the Corps and helping him to set up a business.
He is still a SCORE client. Many of our clients, we end up with long-term relationships. I think we've been working with him for 4 or 5 years, and he's still a SCORE client. He sells these all over the country, and there's quite a variety of them. And it's a story. It's really a nice story because he is doing well by doing good and helping the people in Bangladesh and also making a living doing it. So it's really
made a difference
story.
in a lot of different lives.
Absolutely. Another example in Canton, there was a lady down there who had a friend who had cancer, eventually died, but she saw the struggle the family had in transporting this woman to get treatment and that sort of thing. So she started a nonprofit. It's called Aunt Susie's Cancer Wellness Center. And she got some grant money, and they provide support to families with cancer patients. And there was recently an article in the newspaper about it, and she mentioned in the newspaper article that she learned how to run a nonprofit by being a SCORE client.
So SCORE clients learn how to run a nonprofit, how to run small businesses. You give classes on how to do a grant? How to apply for grants?
One of the workshops we do in Canton, well, we do a couple for nonprofits. The Stark County Community Foundation has given us a grant to support our nonprofit work, and we do workshops on how to form a nonprofit, how to run a nonprofit, and we have one on grant writing. So we give a lot of support to nonprofit organizations.
Dan, can you tell me some of the changes in the amount of services that your organizations have done since you've been there?
Well, I think the changes would have to do over the past 10 years, the number of workshops that we put on and the number of people we touch and help. 10 years ago, we did maybe 10 workshops. We do over 100 now. And in 2014, we did 88. We did, I think, 103 this year.
So that's more than 2 a week.
More than 2 a week.
Wow.
And we have a part-time paid staff. And again, thank you to the foundations that help us because that's how they get paid. But just to give you an example of some of the workshops, we had like 1,300 attendees over that period of time. And starting your own business, how to start your own business, fundamentals of writing a business plan, we emphasize that's necessary. Thinking of building a website. How do you start a website? Social media is the new stuff that we need. A lot of us are older, and we have actually tried to recruit people to help us with some of the stuff we're not good at. We make sure we know what we're doing before we put on a workshop, or if we have trouble with counseling, we bring in a second counselor to help with it. I mentioned before international business. We also have a
International business. You
Yes.
help people with understanding the pitfalls.
Oh, and lots of them. And a lot of it has to do with getting paid. I
Oh,
only
wow.
attended the workshop, but we have a couple of very good people who put it on who have lived in Japan and spend time exporting to other countries.
Never got to. So who are some of the types of clients that you've been dealing with?
Well, just to give you an example, we have a fellow who specializes in turning around a restaurant business. Bob Earp, his name is, and that's what he did for a living. So I mentioned before that sometimes it's not the Goodyear and the Firestone and the Merrill Lynch people who are maybe our most valued client. It's those who have actually done counseling before they got to SCORE. Just to give you an example of some of the things we have worked on is the Hattie Larum Foundation, which is a nonprofit. Ultra Gloss.
Which helps people with disabilities.
Yes, I'm sorry, that's right. Ultra Gloss, which is a body work that they can do much cheaper than normal body shops. We advise them.
For cars.
For cars, yes.
Oh, too bad. Okay.
And they have open branches now, and they sing our praises. We have an executive limousine company that at first didn't take our advice. And they got up in front of a group recently, Jumpstart to be exact, and said, by the way, I didn't take their advice. Then when I did, it really helped. And I fought them. And then I took their advice, and it really helped turn us around. And then, of course, my client, Dexter James, with Ameriprise Financial, he claims I helped him. And looking at his numbers, I would say it looks like it did help.
Now, I understand on December 8th of 2015, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be a major event, a client appreciation event.
Yes, every year in Canton we have a client appreciation luncheon where we recognize some of the clients that we have helped during the year. So that's coming up for us in Canton at the Kent State Stark County campus in their conference center.
And now, if people want to get involved and find out more about SCORE in Canton, they can email AkronSCORE81, the Canton SCORE, I got that almost backwards, CantonSCORE@gmail.com. And
Send us his clients too.
and if they're interested in the Akron SCORE, it's AkronSCORE81@AOL.com.
That's right.
That's right, and is emailing you, and also they can look up the phone number on your websites, correct?
Absolutely. Our website is canton.score.org, and if they're interested in being a volunteer, we'd love to talk to them. Or if they want help with a problem, we'd love to talk to them. And they can actually request help through our website, or they can call the phone number that's listed on the website.
We should point out we do email counseling from people. I did one from a lady in Los Angeles, They were assigned to me by National. So that happens. Also, the phone. We're lucky enough to have somebody there 5 days a week between 9 and 2. So 330-379-3163 is another way to get counseling or to find out more about workshops.
Do you want to repeat that one more time?
Sure, 330-379-3163. That's AkronSCORE.
And again, all of these numbers are available by typing in Akron or Canton SCORE on an internet search engine. And
if you forget, that's right.
If you forget.
And we have a national website, and if you go to the national website, you can also get information about any of the local chapters.
Or do webinars on there. I mean,
That's
if you
right.
if you don't want contact with us, you can go to National SCORE.
You can do anonymous webinars.
You
You don't even have to contact people.
That's right.
You could.
What has been the most interesting thing that you have found in working with clients?
Oh, wow. I'd say the variety of clients. I mean, we literally don't know what's going to walk in the door next. It's really amazing people that may have been laid off and have always wanted to start a business, and they come in with an idea that they want to talk about, to people like this that
The people who want to go to a foreign country and develop dolls.
just a lot of really unique ideas, and the creativity of people just is really amazing, and it's very interesting.
And just to add my take to it, I think the excitement of seeing people get excited about starting their own business, and a lot of them really could use some help. So when we give that little bit of help that we think is obvious, they are extremely appreciative. And we are evaluated by National, by the way, and we both have very high customer satisfaction scores. So I think that speaks well for the Canton chapter and the Akron chapter in particular.
If somebody wants to be a volunteer, what are you looking for in terms of background? Is there any particular background that you need to have? Do they have to be an MBA? Do they have to be an attorney?
Absolutely not.
Probably preferable that they're not.
Our
Good point.
As I mentioned earlier, our volunteers come from a variety of backgrounds in business, and it's basically a desire to help and a passion to help other people with their business and nonprofit issues. As Dan mentioned, we do look for certain specialties. Like right now, digital marketing is a big thing, and so there are certain areas like that we like to find expertise in. But beyond that, we'll
train.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll train you. We put you through this certification process when you come in, which teaches you to stop and listen before you give advice. And then the people would attend workshops with somebody before they give them, and they would also co-counsel many times before they're put on their own. So we think the quality of the counseling is very good.
If someone is a student, a child, for instance, who would like to be involved with a career of service in terms of volunteering, or who has a business idea and wants, is there a role for young people in terms of SCORE?
Well, we have done programs with Malone University in Canton. They have an entrepreneurial program for their students, and we've put workshops on for them. In fact, we have one coming up. The exact date escapes me, but you can find it on our website.
Sure.
Where we have put together a panel of Malone graduates who have started and run their own business, and they're going to put on a panel discussion for these entrepreneurial students about what it takes to start a business. So we do work with the universities in the Stark County area for things like that. We've also done some workshops for the Kent State campus in Stark County. So that's primarily our outreach to the universities.
We have Akron U, and we have the Student Entrepreneur Mentoring Program there, and at Kent State in Kent, because that's our territory. We also are somewhat involved with junior achievement. Again, that's not our primary focus. But if somebody asks us to give a class in a high school, we have one fellow in particular, Paul DeCapua, who will go out of his way to talk at high schools, even go down to middle school. So we want to foster those people because they're the future entrepreneurs of America.
And you also put on workshops for nonprofits. You have folks like Bill Glazer who do that type of work.
Bill Glazer and Bob Labby, they are experts. They ran nonprofits, and those are the people that's the kind of quality we have as mentors.
And if you need additional resources, you can always go national, right?
You can.
That's right.
You've been tuned into Forum 360. Our special guests today have been from the Service Corps of Retired Executives, Dan O'Connell, who is the chair of the AkronSCORE chapter, and of course Ed Measurely from our Canton chapter of SCORE. On behalf of Forum 360, I'm Sally Henning.
Forum 360 is brought to you with support from Electric Impulse Communications, Kim and Harvey Nelson, Rubber City Radio Group, Akronist.com, AkronBuzz.com, Medical Mutual of Ohio, Forum 360 supporters, and the Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron.